Welcome to the Daily HiFi podcast. My name is Chana. With me, as always, we've got Joe and Aaron, and today we have Steven, special guest. What is up, fellas?
Hey, what's up?
Howdy,
Hi
howdy.
guys.
How's it going, Steven? We just met like maybe 2 minutes ago.
Yeah,
Chana
Yes.
kind of surprised us, right? So I know you mentioned something, but Steven, why don't you tell us, where you're at, what you do, give us a
Okay.
rundown.
I'm Steve in Germany. They called me Stefan, and on Facebook I call it Stefan with F because in my childhood they write my name every time wrong with P and H. So I call it Stefan with F, and that's my name on Facebook. And I'm watch movies since I was 6 years old, and now we have 5.1, we have DVD, we have Blu-rays, and now we have 3D sound in all levels. And I'm now in Germany. I take my time, and I'm like a supporter with Grobe TV sometimes. And so we make for you guys a care package because what is your listening experience was we made 4 or 5 years ago, and we started with our 3D, and we find out there's something wrong with Atmos because we have the Atmos layout, but not every time Atmos signals and what else is there. And now we make some experience with the high channels, so we listen to music with only or movies with only high channels and test what is the upmixer is doing. And now sometimes with Atmos there is nothing, and sometimes with the upmixer there is a little bit better experience, and you can adjust our 3D as you like.
Yeah, well, Stefan, I know how to say
Yes.
Stefan. That's easy.
Yeah.
Stefan, so have you watched my video? I made a whole video about why I prefer to use Oro because a lot of people ask me, and it's a whole thing. And I just figured, you know what? Let me just make one video, kind of do as many of the tests as I can. It came out to 40 minutes, and I think I said everything I need to say.
Yes,
a
you
long-
did.
That was a long
It's-
video. I had to wear headphones throughout that. I did not like that, Joe.
Ah.
You made me wear headphones through the whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks to you guys, this Oro 3D collection is getting bigger by the month. There's some more. Oh, it's all upside down. But yeah, I gotta thank you guys for sending all this cool content over because I want to check it out, especially some of the music. I know the BT Electronic Opus. There's some songs in there where it's just like,
Yes.
like the height channels are on fire. And I think with like electronic music, it's a little bit more. It fits a little bit better, right? You can have stuff coming
Yes.
out from above you. If it's like classical music, like I've heard, like they took the stems and they from like a Beatles album and put it in Atmos on Tidal, and it's okay. I mean, all they work with are the stems and which stems are going to be objects, and if they don't really record, they don't have like the clean vocal just to put their voice like up there or up here or have it swirling around you or whatever. I just think electronic music is more fits immersive audio a little bit better. What do you think?
Did you find the time to listen to Ferry Corsten?
I did. I had the Ferry Corsten and the BT. Those are the two my favorite ones. But that was a little bit ago because I don't have an Oro receiver in right now. I gotta.
You have it. You have one.
I've got
7.
two. I've got
Steve-
two.
Stefan was about to take off right now. Like,
It's like no worries. It's like,
give me those
And you
discs.
have, and you are you're one of the customers who had a very big arrow sign. Yeah, maybe you should
oh
it.
yeah. There's some Oro signage here.
So
Got
Stefan,
these guys. Woo.
Yes.
just to be clear, again, we
Yeah.
we just first started talking. So, what do you do with Groby, and what does for the folks who don't know, I know who Grobe, what Grobe TV is, and you know,
Grobe is there is a sign. It's a special sign.
Sound
When
better?
you yes, better. It's the greatest. When you buy a product or an AVR from Grobe, yes, you get these two signs included for your home cinema to put it on your wall, on your door, what you like. And at first, I say big regardings to you from Patrick, because he told me he has no time. He's busy at the moment. And at first, I'm not a worker or employee of Grobe. I'm what can I say, a professional
like an enthusiast, a professional
enthusiast,
movie watcher.
yes. And sometimes in my free time, I'm also a customer of Grobe also. And in my free time, I go to there and we test a lot of sounds, film, musics. And he had a great studio there with three areas at the moment, and one room with 3 types of layout systems in there. And he can switch. You can switch from an hour layout to a real Atmos layout and back, and can switch off all speakers or speaker what you like.
interesting. So, is it just? I know he has a Trinnov, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Does he have speakers in different positions, like optimally for each layout? How does that work?
Yes. Because the industry makes some white papers, but you have to realize the white papers in a definite room in some space. And one is made for we call it all for one.
Yeah.
A setup, and one is one particular really made for Atmos, you can say.
Mm.
But
Yeah,
there are some.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
But there are some crazy things from Atmos, because when you watch, we have some movie mixes. They have like a static Atmos mix, you can call it, and you can hear it when you get 6 height speakers or 6 top speakers for Atmos. Example is Ready Player One. When you go to 6 speakers, there the heights or the top middles are playing only on the middle. The rest is dead or silent.
Yeah. Huh. So I take it you're a fan of Oro 3D.
Yes, at the most time, because sometimes there is a little bit too much silence in the Atmos area.
Yeah. Well, so what would you say to one of the things I said at the end of my video, which was I like Oro upmixing. A lot of people will say over here in the US, there's not a lot of content. And I say, hey, I like the upmixer because I've had some native Oro stuff where I wasn't so impressed with the native mix either. So to me, it came down to the mixer. Did the mixer do a good job? Did they actually put something in the high channels? Because just because it's a native Oro doesn't mean that they're going to put something up there, right? That requires time and effort. Huh?
It depends on the mix and the music or film maybe. And I surfed some internet sites, and I found there is we call it in Germany, we call it here pure audio. It's something like this one you can call. It's in Blu-ray, but on it you have a picture, and you can also, when you watch the picture, there are many, or there are 4 different sound mixes on it. So you can listen to the music in stereo, in 5.1, in Auro native, or in Atmos native.
Oh, cool. Sounds useful.
Yes, you can, because the then or the mostly AVR switch to the right sound format or upmixer, so you can choose the same track on the same line only by push the buttons.
Oh, that's convenient. So if you wanted to compare, like that would be like the easiest thing to do. You could put on the 5.1 mix and then compare the up mixers. You can just compare the Atmos mix to the native Oro mix, and then to the Oro upmixer if you like.
Yes, and under surround parameters, you can decide which high or which intense of the Oro mix you like.
I usually keep mine at the default. The upmixers, I just leave it alone.
No, you can decide. You have
yeah.
When you listen to the Marans, go under audio surround parameters, and you can choose your level of upmix.
Huh. Right. So when you change between the different formats, do you choose a different track, or do you just change it on the AVR on your receiver?
No, it's like from Blu-ray when you change a language or.
Oh yeah, I see.
So you have the language in 5.1 mix and the other one in 5.1 mix also. So on the one mix is in our takes what can I say it's not as a own sound format, but it's covered in DTS HD master.
Yes. So are they different mixers who did? Is it the same mixer that did the different formats or different?
Yes, because many of the pure audios that are made, the inventor is a German guy. He's called Stefan Bock, and he put some technical things for Blu-ray together. And so he created a new, can I say, that's a pure audio. It's only like a normal Blu-ray, like this one,
right.
You can say. And on one, you have the space for the music, because you have don't much big picture there, and you can choose what is like with the music.
Oh, I get what you're saying. You're saying there's not all kinds of video content taking up room on the disc, so they can have all those audio formats. Is that what you mean? Since it's just a picture on the screen, they got more space on the standard Blu-ray. Okay.
When you took a look on the backside from the pure audio disc, you have a 5.1 mix in 24 bits with
96 kilohertz.
So I just wanted to make sure it wasn't mixed by Wilfried, right? Because if it was mixed by Wilfried, he'll make sure the Oro sounds real good, and then for the other
Dolby
ones,
is gonna be whack.
It
depends on the content. When you look on the Twister movies from Turbine, one mix, the Oro mix, is created in the Galaxy Studios in Belgium. And the Atmos mix was made by an Atmos studio in Germany. So there are different mixes, but on these pre-audios there was the same mixer, but he decided on one track for Oro and one track for Atmos.
All right.
And you have in Oro you have a higher resolution.
If you're wondering, Stefan, why Aaron isn't saying much. He still has a 5.1 system.
I got 1.3, so he's pretty cool. I got a center channel and 3 subs.
Whenever we talk about up mixing or
I just zone out.
I don't know, whatever.
Well, I've got to practice sleeping with my eyes open, so I figure this is the perfect time to do it.
The eyes open.
So yeah.
I'm old school.
He said, "Welcome to Oro 3D Daily," just because Chana and I are fans of Oro, and now you're here. We've had Wilfried on a couple times, so we have to be careful to make sure that people, don't think we're. I guess I'm biased because that's what I like, right? That's what bias is.
I make sure that people know that we're not biased because I crack on Oro 3D. Having never experienced it, I just start making fun of it immediately because I've got to balance it out.
Never experienced it, right?
I've got to balance it out. It's one extreme to the other. So
yes. That's how we do it over here. So I just wanted to say, let you know what's going on. But that means that I'm going to be super hard on you now.
Uh-oh.
Because to balance things out even more, now we have Chana likes Oro, I like Oro, you like Oro, so I have to kind of Are
you going to turn
devil's
advocate,
advocate,
Hater
right?
Joe?
I have to change it up a little bit.
Fresh Hater Joe.
Devil's advocate.
But I also like 3D sound, and when the 3D sound is made very good, it's the It's also good from Atmos also.
If it's
Because
mixed well?
Yes, we have sent some China, some. It's only produced for Germany or for Europe, maybe. It's Patrick decided to put it on a disc.
Mr. Moto?
Yes, Mr. Moto. And when you look on the backside, you have also find Atmos and Oro 3D there.
Yeah, stereo, 5.1 surround, Oro 3D, and Dolby Atmos. Yeah. So I think it's on this label here. Boom. Yep.
Yes. And as also for the others is a CD also in there. And I have shown the package here. I have the record before. It's Booker Shade. It's the first record. And you have the second one, Dear Future Self. It's one of the great movie mix in Atmos also. And it's also nominated for a Grammy this year. And I put it, I have some preparation. It's available on Amazon, US.
Mm.
Oh, really?
And I put, yes. I put it on the list. Here you are.
Stefan, I'm kind of curious. What kind of AVR do you have? Just so we know.
An 1815. Marantz 1815.
Marantz
15.
Ah, okay. What kind of speakers?
I have some German ones. I took a combination of a little bit old Magnat speakers. It's similar built to the SVS speakers that you have, the stand ones.
Okay.
And for the height ones, I chose the Dali Oberon speakers because they are very small and they had a really wide frequency range for the height level.
All right. So, Mike asks, with Oro 3D heights, does the speaker have to speaker face have to be 90 degrees to the main listening position? You want to take that, Stefan?
90 degrees.
So I guess what he's saying, so Oro is 30 degrees up from the ear level speakers, right? So
yes,
the corresponding ear level speaker, if you were to draw an angle upward, that angle from your sitting position should be 30 degrees upwards. I think a lot of people get confused. They think that from the speaker looking down, it should be.
No, it's from the listening position.
But also there's on that PDF that you have, it says, it should be about 90 degrees, or I think the test was stand up and it should hit your ears at the standing height. And I kind of joke, depends on how tall you are, right? If you're super tall, it's going to be a different angle.
It depends on you can't. Most people take their hearing position, and when they look above from 30 degrees from there, or they use the stand-up position. It's a little bit other direction.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, I had somebody actually make a real long comment on my video saying that he only has 8-foot ceilings and he sits really far, like Chana, like you're far, like 14 feet.
Yeah.
And so he can't get the right angle. It's like a very low angle considering the speaker cabinet also.
The speakers are, yeah.
He can't, so he can't get that correct angle that Oro recommends, which is at 30 degrees. And so I remember when I spoke with Wilfried, he said just as long as the height speakers are not closer to you than the ear level speakers should be okay. So I don't know how specific that angle has to be.
It's difficult to say because the technical sign is on at the R manual. They have the right angle, but the wrong position. If you are sit too long from the front wall, so the height speaker have to come to you. So if you get the nearly the 30 degrees, it's 25. It's okay. It's but it should be not higher than 35 degrees or higher.
Yeah. I mean, I guess what'll happen is if you have the speakers too close. What I told him was, if your height speakers are closer to you than your corresponding ear level speakers, what ends up happening is that the reflection sound that's supposed to, the whole idea is Oro's supposed to make it sound more spacious. So it adds what seems like a reflection. Your brain kind of thinks like, oh, maybe the space is bigger because there's this reflection happening. But if the reflection hits you before the initial sound, then that's
not good.
It's going to sound weird.
It's not good.
Or it's going to sound smeared if they arrive at the too close of a time.
Right.
It's going to sound just like a smeared sound. So it has to be the correct distance. And I think if your angle is not high enough, right, then there's not enough separation and there's more chance of unwanted comb filtering.
Yes. In this case, you have to do a little bit room acoustics. One point is to change your position or to move your speaker.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is your take on native versus upmixed content? What do you prefer more? Do you prefer native Oro content, native Atmos, or for me, I just keep it on Oro 3D, and whatever it upmixes for the most part, I'm pretty happy with it.
With my experience now, I can say I give both a chance. So
okay,
we take it with what was it? James Bond, the last James Bond movie.
Time to Die or something.
Or No Time for Atmos, I call it now. It's my experience, because the first 20 minutes there's only one Atmos effect, because when the camera moves back through the church, and there's the Atmos effect, and the rest is silence.
Yeah.
And in this case, we can switch to the upmixer. And in Germany, we have another problem. Our movies are speaking German or dubbed in German. And sometimes we have some crazy things with we have sometimes or often not the same
audio track or something?
Yes, the same audio track. It's the same high resolution in German. So the last 4K movies, for example, sometimes we have the item there. That's in English it's an Atmos, and in German we have 5.1. Dolby.
So do you guys end up watching movies in English just because of that?
I watch both, because the English track has more resolution very often. And for many German customers, I can say they watch also in German, and often there is no 3D sound there, because we haven't.
Imagine if they speak in English and then the reflections of Oro
are in German.
That would be crazy. What's happening? Crazy. So Juan says, sounds like Oro has very strict requirements, and it's one of those things. I feel like when it comes to compatibility, I think about it more like Apple stuff, right? A lot of times, like something doesn't work with something else, like iMessage doesn't work with Android. Like, whose fault is it, right, that it doesn't work with the other one? And I think that the Oro layout is actually the most forgiving, because
I think
when you have it set up like that, or at least front and rear heights, I can use that according to Denon, right? According to what the AVR says, I can use it with Oro 3D, Dolby Atmos, DTSX. If I change it to in-ceiling speakers like Atmos kind of recommends, I can't choose some of the other ones.
Yes,
so
right.
It seems to me that the Oro layout is the most versatile. So strict, yes. I don't know that it's strict. I mean, all of them have their particular requirements, right? So
Juan's comment here, in Oro layout, if the main listening position is against the back wall, at what angle should the rear heights go? So this is how it's in my system, right? My couch is right up against the wall, and so my side surrounds are right there and there, right? So my surrounds are left and right. So I have the Oro channels right above those, facing inward because they can't go backward or whatever. So you kind of just have to play with it. Like it's not every room is going to be perfect. You got to do what you can. And for me, I think that's going to be better than me. Obviously, me trying to put in ceilings. I can't put in ceiling speakers, but it's funny, or it totally makes sense how in the AVR settings, if you take any kind of in ceiling height speaker, Oro 3D is just shut off. Like it is, you can't use it. And even the way Wilfried was explaining it, you know, having a second quadraphonic layer of sound above you, like to me, in ceilings wouldn't properly. It wouldn't sound right. It wouldn't sound right. So
yeah, and on in some rooms we have the problems when the speakers are top middle. You have can I say a point of sound from the ceiling. So so it's not very how can I say, not very wide of range. And when you get 4 of them, you can see like because it's not the sometimes it can be not immersive enough. I don't know how to call it in the right words, but with a front and rear height layout, also with a top middle or a top verification, but as a front and rear height speaker layout, you get the better, in my opinion, you get the better experience of hearing.
Yeah. So, you know, I was always wondering, you can, with Oro 3D, you can use rear heights and you can use surround heights.
Yes.
Right? So I assume if you have them on the sides, I don't know if you can change that on the AVR. Does
on
it
the
care
AVR,
whether you use side or rear?
So basically, even though I actually have that setup, right? My rear heights are right above my rear surround, so they're technically in that spot of surround height. If I select that though in the AVR, then Atmos won't work. So
on the halfway.
Yeah. So only the front height channels will work. The
Yes.
rear height channels will not work. If you put the AVR as front height, surround height, you'll only get Atmos 5.1.2 or 7.1.2.
Yes.
If you do it that way. So it's just so weird.
I haven't tested surround heights though, so I'm kind of curious. Is that the intended layout? Does that sound better in any way than having rear heights for Oro?
I think it just depends on your room.
Yes, it depends on your room, and you need the right distance from your ear to your speaker. But the rear height is a little trick to get Atmos in this layout also.
I see.
So with front height and rear height, we always talked about front and rear height. You get Oro 3D and Atmos with 4, or it depends on 6 speakers in this way.
I guess I just wonder if I'm missing out on something though. Am I missing out by it being rear heights and making that compromise? If I'm almost always keeping it on Oro, would it be better if I could? If you know my room is pretty, I can put them pretty much anywhere. Would it be better if I put side or surround
height? Yeah.
Would I get a better experience?
I don't know.
My opinion, find it out.
Try it. I gotta go up on a ladder. I was hoping you're gonna tell me that.
With the
I gotta bust out the ladder.
With the higher models of Denon Marantz AVRs, you can decide surround heights and rear heights in as a setup. So you can split the signal. Then for Oro you get the signal from the surround heights, and for Atmos you get it from the rear heights. Maybe you can test it like this, but because in my opinion, for better hearing experience, put it on the rear heights.
Ah, all right. Well, I'll just leave it. I'm lazy. Yeah. So, Chana, what else you got? You have any questions? I feel like I've been taking up.
I don't have any questions, but I'll tell you this. I really hate movie previews now. because the preview looks so good and draws me in that I rent the movie and then it sucks. Like, how is this possible? Like, we watched House of Gucci last night, and it's a bad sign that at 1:30 in the morning, I got to crack open another bottle of champagne just to get through the movie. Like, it was dragging on, and we're like, oh, let's just keep watching it. And then we cracked the bottle of champagne open. 10 minutes go by. Okay, we got to change this. Like, this is, and we thought of like Jeremy Irons, Al Pacino, the guy that plays the Kylo Ren, that guy, I forget his name, and then Lady Gaga. We're like, oh, this is a good cast. Oh, it's about Gucci, the fashion design, yeah. It was slow moving, and then it started getting faster. Like, all of a sudden, like they have the baby, then the dad dies. Like, it all happened in a span of like 30-40 seconds. I'm like, what is happening?
Can you speed up this whole story though?
This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is exactly how it feels. Yeah.
Hey, anyway, Aaron, I know
I would not rent that movie.
Aaron, you just watched the new Batman movie. You said you liked it. Adam Driver.
Yes.
That's who it is. So you said you liked the new Batman. I haven't watched it. Michael said that it was just, he kind of gave me the feeling that he didn't like it. I usually like the movies that you recommend. So far, you're 100% for everything you've recommended so far. So yeah, you even showed a picture of you and your pops when he took you. Can you tell us about that?
I like the Batman.
Do you just like Batman in general? So you're kind of like,
it's super dark, man. So I would say this: if anybody was thinking, if you've got like a younger kid, maybe like I do, mine's 11. I was thinking I didn't want to see it by myself. I was like, I'll take her with me. And I thought, well, maybe I won't take her with me because this might be too dark. Because I didn't really know what it was going to be about. I try to stay out of all the spoiler stuff. So I took my dad with me instead, and we both liked it. But man, I probably would have had to walk out if I'd taken my kid with me. It would have been too much for her. Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to say it was like rated R, but just she's not at the age where it's violent. I'll just put it that way. So
I thought you were gonna say like it turned into the Joker movie.
No, it wasn't that bad. Although I will say, I saw Batman in 1989. I was 7. I mean, there was some dark stuff in that one too.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought that was a cool photo that you had up.
Yeah, that was cool. I found that not too long ago. So
yeah, man.
I thought what's his name did a good job in it. Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
I thought he did a pretty good job. I was not expecting it to be great.
He's always a vampire guy to me.
Yeah. Twilight.
But he's a good actor. I like him from Harry Potter when he played Cedric.
Did they jack him up?
Yeah, that's right.
Did they jack him up?
No,
did they jack him up? Did they? Like a lot of these actors, all of a sudden,
like Christian Bale did.
Like all of a sudden, they're all jacked. I'm like,
Christian Bale gained 20 pounds more than he was supposed to for that role, so he had to slim back down because he did The Machinist before The Dark Knight, and he lost a ton of weight to where he was like bone thin.
That in The Machinist, his body,
and then he put on 100 pounds. They said it was 100 pounds of muscle, which is never muscle; it's fat and other things that go along with it. But still, he got huge. They said he gained 20 pounds more than he should have, and he had to slim back down.
So, damn,
crazy stuff, man.
I like that guy. Christian Bale is like that was some of my favorite Batman ones.
Yeah,
I like those
too.
Yeah.
So okay,
I agree.
All right.
Yeah. What is he? He's 48. Damn.
Christian Bale is.
Yeah. Look at that. Hey, there was a question I start here from Mike Ortiz. It's, Joe, I think this is right up your alley. Maybe someone can answer this. I have my mini DSP on a smart plug. Does it turn off and on or erase the house curve uploaded? Ooh.
Oh man, that would be horrible if it did. It doesn't. No. It remembers. So I actually keep mine, I guess, unplugged. I'm messing around with this this ELAC has me doing some training videos for them for this surge protector. I'm able to turn off everything on there. And something kind of interesting is like a lot of your power amps, your AVR, they take up a pretty decent amount of power even when they're off. Because the thing shows you how many amps and you can kind of like
what the power draw is and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they take up some power for sure. So I just turn them all off because I'm not using them. I don't need them to take any power. So yeah, you should be okay. Don't worry about that.
And is it like complete utter malarkey that some of these power conditioners say improves picture and sound? Because somebody just posted that like they got 2 new Panamax boxes, and it's like on the box it's like improves picture and sound. Like is that like complete and utter BS? Because like I didn't get any increased picture sound. What do you guys think?
I mean, it's kind of funny because these are training videos, so they give me a script. I read the script, right? And I'm always like, sometimes I'm not even really paying too much of attention to like, what is being said, but I'm like, I hope they're not saying some of this stuff because that video, it's a training video.
Joe and Tell said it'll turn my 1080p to 4K with HDR just by using this power strip.
Exactly. No, but the ELAC guys are pretty legit. They just say, hey, something happens, it protects from surges, They don't make any claims like that. I had to go back and watch the video. I'm like, they don't make any claims that it's going to improve anything. It's to protect your equipment, right?
So Big Jack 79 says yes, ASR tested it. It's BS. So
I don't think he tested this because I think I might.
Oh no, not that one, but like tested. I would imagine tested something.
So he tested PS Audio one recently. Oh, it's like thousands of dollars. It's supposed to do something, and like it didn't measure very well. But yeah, interesting stuff. I wouldn't worry about that. We can also take some calls too if you want.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You okay with some calls, Stefan?
Yes.
All right. Cool. So go ahead and put up the number. You have it?
Yep.
There it is. Hopefully it's working. Sometimes it takes a few tries.
Did you guys and somebody asked if I was eating shrimp. Yes, my wife delivered some shrimp cocktail. So just have a little
and you can ask whatever you want. We'll take it. So ask, put Stefan on the spot. He's our guest. Maybe try to be a little nice to him. So us, you can say whatever you want.
Yes.
So somebody's asking, can you provide Stefan's YouTube website link in the chat?
Maybe I'm preparing some ones this year. I'm on my Facebook channel at the moment, but maybe this year when I got the time, I make some YouTube videos.
Okay. Yeah. Whenever you get those links, just send them to me, and then I'll pass them on to the viewers here. That's easy enough.
And I try on Tuesday morning for me to follow your show.
Oh.
Hello.
Hello. Tuesday morning for me.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going? Can you do me a favor and just turn down your the audio from our podcast, because I can kind of hear it.
There we go. How's that?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, good. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Mark. I called about 3 weeks ago. You guys were helping me out with the comb filtering and the silly idea of putting in 2 center channel speakers.
Oh yeah. We were talking about how you may not want to do that unless you use the Oro 3D center height channel would be okay.
Exactly. Well, now I've got the little SBS Prime satellite mounted above my screen, and I'm not really sure which channel to hook it up to, because I have all my channels are taken right now with speakers. I'm not sure which one I should hook it up to.
Which AVR do you have?
I have a Denon 8500H.
Oh, all right.
Well, why do you guys say it like that?
That's a big one, dude. I haven't even seen that one. Like
I didn't. I just heard you go, I'm sorry. You might as well just bury it. That's what it sounded like to me.
No.
You guys are snobs.
This thing's pretty awesome. 13.2 channel. Yeah. So I know from the 6700 that height 3, either the left or the right is going to be your center height, and then the other one is going to be the Voice of God channel.
He can take a look on the manual, and at the manual there are all layouts signs there on which height speakers or connector the center he can plug in.
Yeah. I know it's height 3 left or right. I forget. I forget, but it's probably going to be exactly the same. And then you got to go into the into your ampersand and turn on all 13 channels, because I think it'll only power 11. Is that correct?
I'm not
13.
sure. I know that I have
You have
9 channels connected in my name.
Okay, let's see. Hold on.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
it says 13 channel amplifier.
Oh,
So you should be able
ended.
to.
I think he hung up or something. I don't know. Got disconnected.
Oh, Mark, we got
Well,
disconnected, buddy.
you can still answer his question.
Yeah, so it looks like it's saying it's 13 channels amplified. So you should be fine. So height 3 left, I think, is the all right.
I mean, sometimes the manuals are kind of tricky to look at, right? So
Manuals are
would it be
whack.
easier?
No, it's
for you to
really
just-
it's really at Denon. It's really in my experience, it's really you have to put a lot of PDF papers.
Huh.
But on one side, there's one connection from the layout and one connection for the connection on the back side, and there you can find how to connect the right speaker layout.
Yeah, here I just found it. Okay, so the top surround, so the Voice of God channel is going to be your height. What is that? Damn it, height right? Yeah, height 3 right. No, height 3 left is going to be your top surround. Then height 3 right is going to be your height channel, your center height channel. So that's what you got to do, Mark. That's where you connect it up. Your center height is going to be, damn, what did I say? Height 3 right. Center height is height 3 right. Top surround or Voice of God channel is height 3 left.
And if you get confused, can't you just like turn it to the right layout and then use the test tones that are built into it and just
you can
move
check
the
that.
mouse,
Yes, those,
move it down to that height channel and then switch it up, and whichever one plays the sound is the right one.
Yeah.
It's the easy way.
Easy way. The 8500
no
supports
easy way out.
Oh man, you guys, there's no shortcut home.
Yeah,
So let's see. What kind of processing does this thing have? Is it, these guys are saying in the chat, they're saying it's 15 channel. I didn't know that.
The big one has a 15.1 channel processing.
Really?
And yes, it's this area you can run Arrow 13.1 and Atmos 13.1 in the same way, because at Arrow you can drive them with top surround or the Voice of God and the center height, and when you move to the to Atmos, you have a front height, rear height, and the top middle ones.
Huh. Oh, okay. I see.
So
And
I've been
it changed-
considering setting up a center height. In your opinion, how much difference does that make to add that center height speaker?
If you had to decide from top surround to center height, or is it how?
I was thinking of getting an AVR where I could use both. So right now I have Voice of God already, but I was thinking of adding the center height. Just wondering, have you noticed a big difference moving to that? I mean, I'll probably do it anyway. I'm just kind of curious.
It's not a big difference or a big more here experience. It's the additional sound, you can say, from the front height. So it's difficult to say, because I'm looking for the audio scene, who especially the center height is sounded so very, very far, very good from this area.
I see. All right.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious about that Trinnov. So I've never heard Trinnov. Chana, you've heard it before, right? In that
I don't
crazy expensive system.
Yeah.
I'm
So
kinda
that was
curious.
like, dude, there was like 30, 40 people there, 22-foot wide screen, like a 13.6.8 Atmos configuration like crazy. Like, I mean, it was awesome, but like, who's got the money and space for all of that? Like, seriously.
Well, I wanted to know about the remapping, right? Because I was always curious,
right.
like, I wonder how well that really works, right? They say that you can move speakers around and like it doesn't really matter almost like where you play stuff, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure it does matter.
It should matter, yeah. Yeah.
But it works very good. I listened a few hours from the Grobe cinema inside. They have the big Trinnov there.
64 or whatever.
Yes, and the friend of my Yannick, he moved last year from an Marantz 1815 to a Trinnov 16, or Trinnov Altitude 16, in the right name. And so with the opportunities at the Trinnov, you can do a lot more stuff you can expect. Like it's like for a DJ, you have a 16-point channel mixer in front of you, and you can decide which speakers I want to hear or not.
All right. I guess I'll have to check it out one day. We'll see.
Yeah. Here we got a question from Mike. Anyone else feel splurging on a multi-channel amp and then getting just a processor instead of an AV receiver the way to go? Unless you want to buy a new AVR every other year. You're always behind.
I don't think you need to buy an AVR every other year. A lot of the changes are mostly like video stuff, right, Jana?
Yeah. So when something changes video-wise, then you're going to think about it. But at the same time, now we have eARC. And if you have a TV that's eARC is functionally working and you have a new device that your like the video part doesn't mesh with your AV receiver, boom, stick it directly to the TV. Obviously, I would assume you have a new TV that can handle all the new fancy stuff, and then it eARCs the audio over. But then there are issues. Some people are getting like, AV sync issues when they're running that kind of a system. But for the most part, I mean, AV receivers, I'd say 5 years. 5 years, maybe 6. And then it depends on where you are. Like, a lot of people started off with an Atmos setup, and you can get an Atmos receiver for like $400, which is not that expensive. Yeah. But when you want to get something that's 9-channel, now you got to like shell out some cash, and you're like getting to like minimum, I think, what, 1,300 now with all the shipping delays. It was like 1,000 before, but now a 9-channel receiver is going to cost you that much. So when you're talking about now, I know Mike, I have external amplifiers that I'm running with an AV receiver only because I make sure the AV receivers I buy have pre-outs, right? And since I'm already there, I have 10 channels. I have 2 5-channel amplifiers, so 5 + 5, 10. I can run 10 speakers. Yeah, I wouldn't mind trying a pre-pro. So, but for someone to just jump into it, that's a lot of dough.
That's they're more expensive, right? So pre-pros are typically more expensive. Now I don't know, a lot of the Denon Marantz stuff, the new stuff has that dedicated preamp mode, which turns off or disconnects the other amplifiers. So it's kind of getting that. Yeah. You're kind of getting that. I mean, they are RCA only, so if you're adamant about using XLR,
right,
and you got to go pre-pro. But I think maybe why this question's a little more interesting now is because there are pre-pros that are that $999 price range.
Yep.
Tone Winner, that one that we can never say. Emotiva has one. Now, here's the downside, I guess, if you were to ask me, is they don't have Oro, which for me, I need that. I want that.
It's a deal breaker. Yeah.
But I don't know how good their room correction is. So that's a huge part for me, right? Yeah. Because to me, that's really what can get your speakers, your sound to a different level, is having not the automatic one needs to be the best. If you know what you're doing, if you're buying a pre-pro, maybe you should learn how to do some manual calibration. But I don't know how capable they are at, being able to do what you want to do. I don't know if they have parametric EQ and all that. So that's the thing you have to look out for. I haven't tested any of those other ones. Maybe they have great PEQ settings. But those are the things I'd worry about. Is if you need auto calibration, I don't know if they're any good. If you want to do manual calibration, I don't know what they can do, and they don't have Oro. So
correct. So you would have to step up to something like this, Marantz AV7706, but this thing's retails for like $3,000.
Yeah,
it's not a cheap situation. I'm gonna go put this down before.
Yeah. You know, I think what I would be worried about also is,
Yes.
you know, a lot of these big companies with tons of money are already having issues with HDMI. I'd kind of be, I don't know how those other smaller companies can handle those things, right? If the big companies are having issues,
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
And
Right?
there's a second point. Some companies follow the white papers from the industries, and some AVRs you can do not a cross-up mix when the sound is not good enough, and one others you can change can't change the incoming volume and the output volumes separately. So at the it's a big feature at the Denon and Marantz AVR, so you can go to the option channel level options like this, and you can directly raise up or move it down one channel. It's mostly the center. If the center is too noisy or too quiet, you can raise them up, or the sub is too low, you can raise them up also.
Yeah.
No, handy feature, but hands down, Joe's Magic Bean settings, fantastic. Yeah.
I just did another one recently for a guy, and it's interesting because he does custom installation, custom integrator, whatever CI stands for.
Yeah, custom integrator.
Yeah, so I thought it was interesting because he wanted to be able to do a better job for his
clients, right?
So he's like, why don't you teach me and just do it on my system, and then you can take notes. And so he seemed pretty happy with the system. So hopefully he's watching right now. If he is, go ahead and comment, let people know what you think. I wouldn't mind an update since it's been a few days. So let me know.
I know people were asking how I like the new Focal setup I have, and man, I'm obviously going to wait a little while. I don't necessarily believe in this whole speaker break-in nonsense, but my wife is watching the TV, or the TV's on 7 to 10 hours a day. It's just on. So I'll wait a few weeks afterward before I give my get my review going, but I'll tell you guys this.
Tell us. Sounds
pretty damn good. Just don't tell anybody. Keep that on the down low.
So you can say your wife did the playtime for your vocal speakers for you, or?
Yeah. She's doing all the break-in. She and the kid, whenever there's some sort of fight, a sporting event, they're all about it. Yeah, speaker break-in equals placebo. I mean, I don't know. Some people say it's a mechanical thing and the woofers need to move. Some people think your ears need to get used to the speakers, which.
Yeah, I made a video about it. I tested it on some speakers. I couldn't even measure a difference, so I don't know.
So yeah,
whatever.
But anyway, to appease everybody who has an opinion or doesn't care or whatever, I'll just let my wife do the break-in period. And sometimes I'll be in the I was down here messing with my Mac Mini and trying to get it up and running and all this stuff, and out of the blue, just poof, this music is just blaring from upstairs. I'm like running upstairs. I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, oh, it's the commercial. She started watching a new TV show. The talking is so low, and she turned up the volume a lot, and all of a sudden a commercial came and some electronic music was just bumping. And I was just like, what is going on? What is going on?
Hey, Stefan, is it okay if we talk about something kind of a little bit more general, or are you only allowed to talk about oral here?
It's okay. Because if the guys also have some questions, be our guest. so we can talk it to the whole range of music speakers.
Yeah.
And what else?
Yeah. Well, before we go, if there's something that you specifically want to talk about, that we haven't touched on yet, of course, you can definitely do that. But I just want to kind of ask this because, usually we just talk about all kinds of different things, and something that I've been thinking about lately is something that was brought up in the after show. Speaking of which, quick plug for our after show. Let's see here. Yeah, if you want to join our after show, it's patreon.com/daily HiFi. And we talk about all kinds of stuff. A lot of times it gets even more in depth than what we talk about here because, a lot of times these guys are like, really into it, really technical. And so we get really crazy over here on the podcast. Sometimes we kind of just
keep it light. Keep it light.
We want to make sure, that everybody is happy. All right. So maybe we have some new folks and we don't want to get too deep into stuff, but I think it was Randy who brought up wide versus narrow directivity. And I was like, oh man, that's a tough one. Right. And that night I couldn't sleep. I just started taking all kinds of notes. I'm like, which one's correct? What is correct for what situation? And the way I kind of do things is I kind of just throw all kinds of ideas into my phone. And then sometimes I look at them like, that's just wrong. That's an incorrect.
like later, you go look at it.
That's dumb. But I just throw all my ideas on here. Sometimes I have a question mark if I'm like, I'm not sure if what I'm saying is true. Right. Because, sometimes you say something, you're like, that's not even true. That's actually wrong.
That's false.
But yeah, it's a good question. What we're talking about, right? Like wide directivity versus narrow pattern, and which one is better for home theater. Let's just keep it to home theater for now. Aaron, I know we've talked about this before, and I think I like what you say about it. What is your takeaway? You don't know?
Aaron is trying to not say anything this show.
Well, it's his fault. It's his fault because
where did he go?
Yeah, there he is. I hope.
There he is.
I don't even want to talk about this.
Honestly, it's your fault. I'll tell you why. Stefan, have you seen Aaron's channel yet?
I started to watch him. I like his automatic measurement system for speakers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's I don't think about seeing it before because it's the right way to measure the speaker or the combination of tweeter and woofer in all ages. Nicht ages, angles.
Yeah.
Angles.
Don't worry, I don't know how to say anything in German, so.
Yeah, you're doing a pretty darn good job. You know that's a German product, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I googled it and I said, it's a German
Dresden.
product.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know how far you are from there.
That's about 300 kilometers from here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, not bad.
Are you are you an engineer by any chance?
No, I'm a certified technical engineer in this case, and audio is my hobby, you can say. And
cool, man.
Often I work on different places and I have to drive a long time, and so the first thing when I buy a car, on the next week I change the sound system in the car. Yeah. So I can drive with my array of speakers through Germany and listen to the music what I want.
Yeah, I hear you, man. So what do you use in your car?
What did you upgrade to? I go to focal speakers.
Okay.
The last one I had a German speaker system, and now I have a Japanese car, and I changed to the focal. It's an 6.5 combo system inside, But it's the same issue as at the room. You have to do a lot more indoor acoustic, you can say,
Tuning.
Yeah.
or tuning
Yeah.
to get the right way of sound from the car.
Yeah. So I'm a car audio nut. Like that's what I first got into. So yeah, when you talk about that, I'm right there with you, man. That's cool.
And
Yeah,
and
I'm
with
into-
with a good DSP inside, you can drive.
Yeah. So what DSP do you use?
It's also a German one. It's
Helix?
called from Helix. Yes,
Yeah.
I got the second edition from
Yeah.
the it's the guys
DSP
there.
Pro?
They what?
Is it their DSP Pro?
Yes,
Okay. Yeah. I've had that one
Um,
a few different times actually. Yeah.
and because the DSP it's work, you can say. It's don't fall out. It's work when the voltage is enough there, it runs on every temperature. It's 30 degrees outside, 40 degrees outside, or 20 degrees minus. It's work. It's great.
Yeah, I've owned that one a few different times, and I love it. That's a great.
Yes.
If I didn't have, so right now I've got a mini DSP, and the reason I'm using that in my car is because it has direct live. But
Okay.
if I weren't running direct live in it, then I would go back to the Helix. And I have a couple buddies who have some money. They've got the Brax, so that's Helix. That's a step up. Like that's going from like a Toyota to a Lexus or something like that, But that's they did a really good job. And the great thing that I liked about Helix was that, so Julian Fisher, I guess he's the owner or one of the head guys there. Every time that I had a suggestion, so for example, I emailed them and asked about them providing users a bit more flexibility in the high and low shell filters, because they could only go down to a certain frequency. I think like 3K or something initially. So I asked them if they could bring that down. So then they brought that down to 20 hertz, so I could make adjustments on different shelving filters more freely. And they did that. They did like 2 or 3 other things, and all it took was an email, and they were like, "Yeah, we'll implement that," and boom, it's done. So that's rare to find, and it's great when you do find it, and it's great to support companies who are like that.
It's always a good way when the company produce its owner of the product and owner of the software in one house or in one company, so they can close or they can fix problems or issues very fast.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they in this 5 years they changed, I think 5 or 6 times the software on a big issue for free.
Yeah, they just update it and you go download it and that's it.
Yes.
Yeah, they really do make a great product. I think they probably make the best car audio DSP there is right now.
Yes.
For sure. And they've been doing it I was running their DSP before they went to the DSP Pro. They had, like, way back when, they had the P DSP, right? And then they had the C DSP, which is like their higher end. They dropped both of those and they went to the DSP, and then they had the DSP Pro. So I've been running that stuff since like 2011 or so.
Yes.
I mean, it's been a while, but they're a great company. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, sidetrack. I was just curious. You talk car audio. I'm like, let's go, man.
Good. Well, see what I'm saying? See, like, we got engineers and they like Oro, so must be something there. we got smart.
You got the DJ. He likes Oro.
No.
Yeah.
And you got
Aaron,
me, and I like 5.1. 5.2. I got 5.2. I got to give myself credit for that extra subwoofer.
Jenna, I got a question. Did you try to make a DJ session with the Aurus 3D mixer, or you put your?
No, I have not tried, and I don't even know where to begin with that. I mean, I would try to start. Well, I'm working on like 5 new songs right now, so I was gonna take like one of those and stem it all out, and then pop it in to see, how I can make it like Oro 3D or even Atmos. I'm gonna try them both to see what's up. I know Wilfried. He's like, oh yeah, I'll send you the code for the Oro.
Yeah,
I guess the plugin or something like that. Yeah.
Yes, it's a plugin for it's a software, so you can put your sounds what you like in any direction.
Yeah. So it's there's a whole lot of stuff going on. You know, I just started walking again like a month ago. So like this whole studio is it's still a complete mess. But but it's getting better. I'm cleaning it up because I just had everything at arm's reach. So I could do live streams and just bring up equipment. So you can imagine there's a junk all over the ground here. So I'm finally getting that situated. And then the new TVs are starting to come out or they're being planned. Like Sony's got their new plan. And you know, I like that OLED TV, but Sony's got that new QD OLED coming out. It's only a 55 or 65 inch sign, but I do want to get one of those in. So yeah, I'm gonna clean up so I can get you know, the Oro / Atmos production studio in full effect. So
For sure.
So yeah, a lot going on.
Earlier we were talking about German engineering, and I know that Porsche has Oro in it. Have you gotten a chance to hear that one?
No, unfortunately, no. Because the cars are not very cheap at in these times, but I got not the chance. When I got the chance, maybe go to Wilfried or anything else.
Yeah.
Maybe I try it if time or I try it.
Yeah, I'm a fan of German engineering, but yeah, that gas mileage probably not so good. I had a M3 and I took it to the track and I looked at the miles per gallon. You know, it says right there, it said 2 miles per gallon. Oh man, and that's the expensive gas too.
That was a V8, isn't it?
No, it was a twin turbo. Inline 6. Here's another my new toy. You know this one? You know this one, Stefan?
It's a Leica camera.
Yeah. German engineering.
Cool.
Right there, made in Germany. My favorite new toy.
You know, it's funny you say that because like I got these Focal speakers. I'm like, oh, it's French. Got French speakers, and then like I just moved. So like I moved from a standard direct radiating speaker like from my PAs. I moved from the QSC to the RCF, and RCF is made in Italy. So I'm like, oh, my home system's French, my DJ system's Italian. Like it's so cool.
And your
my car is German. Like it's great. I love it.
And your headphones are Japan.
Yes, headphones are Japan. Yes. And so is the Marantz Pre-Pro, right?
I'm with Rob E right here. I do need a GT. How about a GT3 RS? Yeah.
It will smoke my slow Audi. I have an SUV. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's funny.
Aaron, maybe you can ask the owner from Helix. Maybe we can bring Wilfried and Helix together to put our 3D in the DSP.
Do that, please.
Oh,
I mean, I don't have that kind of pull anymore, but I can shoot an email and just I'll have Joe do it. Joe, you type up the email and I'll send it to Julian.
He'll sign
and I'll say, this is a friend of mine and he's obsessed with Oro 3D. Let him down gently.
You know what the problem will be though, is like, I think Wilfried was saying that the height speakers can't be small. They still have to be so, they can't be like I think he tried just like some tweeters up there to see if that would be enough. And like, no.
You're going to have like a 2-story bus with the floor dropped out of the top of it.
Yeah. Yeah, what are you gonna do for Voice of God? How are you gonna install that? Coming out of your roof. That's funny. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I'm interested in that. I think it's actually a good place for that sort of thing. I don't know. I would have to hear the Porsche to see if it actually sounds good because they did the full implementation. If it doesn't sound good in there, then yeah, it needs to sound good in there first. And then I'll send the email.
Yeah. I mean, you could put a lot of speakers into a car, right?
Yeah, but height speakers? Where are you going to put those?
Clearly in the roof.
You got to make a pod coming up. Watch your head coming in.
Hey man, I did stuff like that for years. Don't put your foot through that speaker in the floor. Cut out my firewall.
All right. So in car audio, have you ever seen somebody do height speakers?
Yeah. Well,
Really?
no.
I'm talking about like. So I
Not
guess
like this.
Hold on.
all kinds of speakers everywhere, but like install.
Yeah, no, I've seen people put them physically high, but having height speakers in the sense of like how the audio is generated for them, no. So, like I've seen people take differential rear field signal and send that to back speakers that are placed up high.
Okay,
I've seen that.
Yeah. Well, this kind of gets back to what the question you're trying to avoid. Don't try to leave now, Aaron. I see you. Hands up. Hands up.
God.
Well, it comes back to this, like when it comes to
wide versus narrow directivity, I think most people like wider directivity speakers, right? And I think narrow is probably going to be like a more specific case. And I actually reached out to Sean Olive last week about that. I said, "Hey, do you have any papers or any research that would answer that question for me?" Right. So he sent me a white paper, and I haven't had time to sit down and look at it because time is not on my side lately. But I do plan to look at it. But he did say anecdotally that he too prefers wider radiation speakers. So just for what it's worth.
So you pretend like you're not interested in the question, but you asked Sean Olive. He gave you a white paper, and so you're trying to find the answer to this too.
Oh yeah, like I want to know, because generally speaking, it seems like most people prefer wide radiation, but I want to know if there's been actually any studies that done on it, and with different, not necessarily playback methods, but just trying specific things, because there's always caveats. Like I like this, but right. So what are the buts?
So how about this? So generally speaking, what would be a wide radiation pattern? Like if I didn't know about speakers and I looked at speakers, like which one would you look at? Say that one probably has a wide pattern.
So that's a good question. That's something else I would like to find personally. And I say this in my videos when I talk about the stuff. I say personally, I say that like plus or minus 50 and above would be wider, and then narrower would be more narrow, right? So that's like the negative 6 dB point. So like as the sound is trailing off at about 6 dB and going lower in volume, where is that radiation pattern at, right? And then the other thing too is a lot of speakers just aren't constant directivity, right? So they don't maintain that same pattern throughout as they're firing off into the room. So at some frequencies, they may have narrow radiation pattern, and other frequencies, they may have wide radiation pattern, right? And then that influences what you hear in the room. So yeah, there's a lot of little things in here when we start talking about wide versus narrow radiation. Croson, let me see. What if your narrow dispersion covers your listening position if they're angled properly to cover this? Right, and that's fine. But so the thing is, it's not so much. And for what it's worth, nearly every speaker that I listen to or I review, I'm always talking about on axis. So the speaker will be aimed at you. I rarely, if ever, I rarely tow speakers out away from you. And usually when I do that, it's waveguided speakers or coaxial speakers where they're designed to be towed out at least like 10 to 15 degrees, give or take. Most of the speakers I use are aimed toward the listener. There's the time intensity trading where people will take waveguided speakers and they'll crossfire them. So the left speaker fires at the right listener and vice versa, for a multi-seat kind of home theater type setup. So there's that aspect, do you want a narrow radiation speaker for that? And then the other thing is a narrow radiation speaker is going to have less room interaction, right? So let's first of all assume that the speakers that we're talking about have good controlled directivity. So there's no aberrations in their off-axis response, and that whatever they're firing to you is going out off-axis in the same manner, because that's important to understand. When you have difference between what's going out into the room versus what's coming at you, as far as like the tonal balance, then things go up in the air quickly. So with the assumption that the tonal balance is the same roughly between on-axis and off-axis, then the less room interaction you have, and this is anecdotal, the more focus that you're probably going to have with the images and the soundstage. But the soundstage may not be as wide, as vast, possibly not quite as deep. And that kind of plays into the room interaction as well, right? Because you can imagine that if you've got a lot of reflections going off a wall and coming at you, there's a little bit of time smearing, a little bit of tamper smearing a little bit. But if you don't have much, if you just have like a laser flashlight shining right at you and nothing is going off the walls and bouncing off, then all you're going to hear is that focused image. So that's why I say this isn't really something we can kind of roll it up and try to roll it up, I guess, and put it in a little, bow.
Mhm.
But it's not really something that you can just say without a doubt, this is that thing, right? That's why you need on-axis data and you need off-axis data, vertical and horizontal, to understand the energy that's being spread out into the room. And then that gives you a better idea of how you need to aim the speaker or what kind of coverage pattern is going to work best, because you might have just you in the prime spot and you don't care about anybody else.
Yeah.
Or you've got multiple people sitting side by side, multiple people sitting behind you in a home theater type setup, and you may want a more wide distribution sound. So it's those kind of things that go into understanding the data and figuring out what works best for us.
So this is more of a thought experiment, more than anything, because like a lot of the stuff that I was writing down, believe me, like I think a lot of the stuff that I wrote down, half of it I'm like, nah, that's not true, right? So call me out if I say something that's not true, Stefan. Feel free, definitely, because I don't know what's correct here. I think a lot of the stuff that Aaron was saying for sure is correct. But one thing I was thinking about is, let's say with car audio, just as an extreme example, even if you have it dialed in perfectly, how much externalization do you get from the sound? Like, can you have your car audio system set up so well that it sounds, as wide as your home theater, or is it constrained to your car? Because if that's the case, if it's constrained to, the size of your vehicle, then you could say the same thing can happen for your home theater, right? So you may, the size and scale of the sound is limited to the size of your theater for the most part, just because I think our brains are pretty good at judging the size of the room, right? I mean, a lot of these things are meant to trick your brain into thinking that you're in a huge space, but I don't know if I've ever felt like, oh man, I'm really outdoors. I think it gives you the effect of that, but it kind of got me thinking about the person who mixing, right? Because here's the thing. If you had a perfectly dead room, let's say it's anechoic, right? No reflections whatsoever. Then it seems to me that the best would be a binaural recording, right? If it was recorded for binaural, right? So no interaction. We're saying no interaction with the room. All you hear, you have two ears and you're just feeding the ears a direct signal, right? And without any room interaction, and all of the externalization is coming from the recording itself. And the reason why that makes a lot of sense is because, it's hard to get internalization. If you have speakers outside of you, sound doesn't really get closer to you. It can only be as far out as the other speakers. It can't get closer. So if you're listening through headphones, to me, that's the closest you can get to, a real sound. So what can we do? If we want to use speakers and not headphones, then you have to deaden your room and make it as like an anechoic chamber. But in that case, the best possible situation, or the closest to binaural, would be having two speakers right next to your ears, right? The more speakers that you would add, the less good the effect would be, right?
Yeah, it depends. It depends on. In the first sentence, you can say the room makes the music, and depends on the size on the room. You have to choose, or should choose the size of the speakers at first. So and when you go to, I can say to 4 speakers or 5 speakers, 6 or what else, you should take, sometimes it's better to work with more subwoofers than with floor stands. So you should take for the right room, or for the good room, maybe 4 or 6 or 7 bookshelf speakers, and maybe 2 or 4 subwoofers. So you can be better. You can better sound from the front and around you, because all components have the right or have the same parts and the same crossovers and anything else. and with a little bit with a little bit room acoustics, depends on the room, you can find your own sound. And when you got a room with a perfect room acoustic, or the room is dead for acoustic, you can hear what the mixer is done, if it's done its homework for mixing or not. So you can hear directly if a mix is good or not good or bad. So that's my experience. So we find it out on the Blu-ray from Hans Zimmer, live from Prague, and sometimes the bass is not directly and powerful. It's very I can say like fluffy. It's not punchy enough, not directly. And sometimes I think if the mixer was not live on the concert there, because I and many other guests was live on the concert, and he put a lot of subwoofers in a concert hall and a lot of bass there. If you listen to the Batman medley, maybe after 1 minute he put a lot of 20 and 30 hertz in the bass. And you can hear if the at this case sometimes the bass is not good mixed in this case.
So
you can hear a little
muddy.
Yes, muddy. That's the word I'm looking for. It's sometimes it sounds like muddy.
Well,
but at the concert it was perfect. And on the second concert I was, it's with the same guys. The concert hall was not the best, because they have some platforms to put it out for sport events, but they was not good for music events, because the platforms are moving like this with the bass, and that's not feel good and sound good.
Yeah. I'm just looking at. You should see my notes. Look at this.
Okay. If you have some questions,
it keeps going. So okay, so here's a question: do you think the person who mixed for this movie, do they want you to be able to tell? Well, I think this is pretty obvious. They want you to be able to tell where the sound is coming from, right? Obviously, like it's supposed to sound like it's coming from this direction. What type of speaker, narrow or wide, is better at a focused, I guess, more accurate or more pinpoint accuracy as far as, oh, that's where the sound's coming from, over there? Is one better or worse than the other, I guess?
It's the same sentence. It depends on. For 5-point or 7-point speaker system, sometimes it's better if it's narrow enough or wide enough, you can say, because every room for the customer is different, and they put it sometimes. We have meters in in Europe. We have 2 meters along, or 3 meters along, or 4. And there's better if sometimes the speaker has a very wide range for the tweeter. And for some can I say some stereo music listeners, it can be better if combination maybe from wide range to narrow range.
Okay. Yeah, I mean we're still trying to figure it out. That's why I thought it was interesting. You know, you don't know when. I think we have some ideas when one type is better, right, than others. You know, if you have a very reflective room, you may want, like Aaron was saying. Of course, if you have lots of seats, you have to take those into consideration, because a lot of times in these theaters. So there are definitely lots of considerations. I think it's something that needs to be explored a little bit more, so that people can understand, okay, these are the right ones for my situation specifically. And it would be great if we said, you know what, this is the amount of degrees that I should probably have, right? I think if we can get down to that level, I think it'd be more useful to people?
I think it's interesting to think about the pro audio world, like concert venues, stadiums, things like that. Because if you go and look at the specs for pro audio stuff, it's there. You know, you can pull up a spec sheet and it says, here's the radiation pattern. It's, you know, within this and this, and it's a conical shape, right? Or it's a rectangular shape or whatever. And they tell you the SPL, they tell you all the stuff, because if you're setting up a venue like that, you have to know. But the home audio side is like, it's like they're in the dark ages compared to pro audio, right?
Yeah, in the spec sheet, it's like you will hear butterflies and angels. That's it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
there's
And the spec sheet, it's like sensitivity is this, it's this minimum, or it's this impedance, and it's like, well, really, it's lower than that. But you know, these are all a bunch of superfluous
nominal
things that,
impedance.
yeah, they don't really help.
You
But,
just
like-
take your pick: 2 ohm, 4 ohm, 6 ohm, 8 ohm, whatever.
Right. But the pro audio world will say, here's the radiation pattern, and that matters because if you, and I've talked to people who do this for a living, and they tell me, yeah, when we go shopping for a speaker for a venue or for a stage or for something that, you know, we're wanting to rebuild, we know the size of the crowd that we need to get to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we know where the speaker is in this basic geometry. At that point, we need plus or minus 60 degrees in order to reach the majority of the crowd. So that's what they go for. But in home audio, it's not, we don't have that spec. Now, I understand that, and I'm not conflating the two, right? I understand that the purpose is completely different. But I still think it's useful to have that kind of information for the home audio person, and then maybe go to the next step and explain to them why they would want it. Now, my whole thing about home audio, not necessarily home theater, I've always thought that omnidirectional is better, right? And I just, and this is purely a thought train here, so just go with me for a second. But I've always thought that if you record a sound in space, then you should be able to play back that sound in space, and the speaker should not impart any kind of directionality to it, and no timbre change to it or anything. It's basically like it's omnidirectional into space. So that's kind of how I think about it. But then there are issues with speakers that are true open baffle that are like omnidirectional. They're not true omnidirectional. Most of them are dipole, so they have a suck out at the sides. The ones that are true omnidirectional are very expensive, something like the Bell Lab 90. Yeah, I mean, like some of that stuff is very expensive because you got to pay for a lot of DSP properties or processing and a lot of drivers to achieve all of that. So it's a different ball game. But when it comes to home theater, yeah, I mean, I would still think that you would want closer to Omni, but I don't know if that's what you want, right? You know, I just don't know.
It all depends on the purpose.
You were talking about
Yeah.
oh, go ahead, Shauna. Sorry.
I said it's all about purpose, right? What are you trying to achieve? How much? And for, you know, and exactly what you were saying with pro audio, it's how much volume can these things put out, and what is it going to be like 30 feet away, 40 feet away?
Right.
You know, am I going to need another stack of speakers? Am I going to need another line array over here? You know, and they already know most of that. So you know, here in a home theater, it's just like, man, it's like, I mean, look, I look at my shit, I'm like, this is fucking overkill for my living room.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
dude, I see subwoofers and people setups like on Facebook, in the Facebook groups that we're part of.
Oh yeah, like what
they'll have little baby center channels, and they'll have like 3 or 4 huge 18-inch subwoofers, and I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. And they're all placed right up front. Like if you're going to do it, at least spread them out to spread out the energy. You know, sorry.
In pro audio, they talk a lot about coverage. Right?
Yeah,
they want to make sure they have enough coverage for the size of the venue and you know whoever's in the audience. I mean, they got that down to science. Yeah, I don't know. You were saying Omni would be optimal for 2-channel, right?
Well, and I'll say, so the other thing too here is that Siegfried Linkwitz, his designs, like the I'm LX 251, stuff like that.
Weird, like
yeah. So that's supposed to be more of an omnidirectional type speaker, right? I don't think it's true omnidirectional. Even though I think that design does also have tweeters facing the rear. So I think that's more like a dipole. Somebody can tell me if I'm wrong. I'm not too familiar with that design.
Don't get into that because I got some guys in the Discord group that have made those. So they're gonna
I've wanted to play around with that. You know what? This is a really good conversation that I would like to know more about. So I'm actually taking a note to email some people, some engineer types who see if they'd be willing to come on here and talk about that a little bit.
Well, these guys that I talked to, they are engineers. They're engineers. So
I guess I mean like the dudes who do this for a living.
Oh,
Like,
okay, for a living.
like
Yeah, no, they're
design
not.
speakers and stuff like that. So I'll try to remember to do that.
So I guess to me, it's more like when it comes to stereo, the question is, does the person is the person who's creating the music, do they have it in mind that they want the speakers to interact with your room? Are they taking that into account?
No.
If they're not,
100% they are not.
All right. So if they're not, then it seems to me that the best sound that you can get is one with the least amount of room interaction, because it's the most direct sound, I guess.
Well,
right? So the least amount of room.
So that's kind of the purpose of the spinorama, though, is to help define what's going on off axis. Like that's what Floyd Toole's work was really based on. Well, I won't say really based on. He did a lot of stuff, but that's what I think people really know him for in our community, is for his efforts in like spinorama, defining on versus off axis and understanding what's sent out into the room. So you can, have a better speaker overall, right? Because if you have crap off axis response and it doesn't sound nearly the same as on axis, then it's going to be a bad speaker, and or you'll at least want some absorption at that first reflection point, right? To capture anything going off axis so it doesn't come back at you. But that's a different topic. So there are some companies who design with a room in mind, but yeah, there's certainly companies that you're just hoping for the best, like, and I say hoping for the best, probably hoping that customers are tricked into believing it's a good design, or they just don't know better, because that happens a lot in our community. People will hear a speaker and it's the greatest thing they've ever heard because they don't really have anything to reference that to, and then you find out like a couple of years later, they have the opportunity to get something maybe that's a little bit better that most people recommend. And they're like, oh yeah, that other speaker was garbage.
Well, I guess what I have to look at these guys who are mixing and mastering, right? They usually have some near field speakers or headphones. And so I have to assume that they optimize for that situation, right? They're not using omnidirectional speakers. So wouldn't they optimize it for their sound that they're getting? Or are they thinking like, oh, maybe somebody's using some MBL speakers, so I got to make it sound good for them? I don't think so. I think they're trying to make it sound as good as possible for
I agree with Chana. Yeah, I agree with Chana in that. I don't think people do that.
What's that?
Good ones do, but
I think it's both ways, because it depends on the let's them call sound creators. They have to do a mix with their system they have, and they have to do like more people's are listening music with Bluetooth speakers at kinds, and they find out how sounds their music or their mix with these small speakers.
Yeah.
So sometimes they put the mix is not, how can I say, it's good, but they make it good also for huge for big range of speakers and for small range of speakers also.
Yeah. There's actually some mastering engineers that will deliver an iTunes and a Spotify mix of your track, and then along with the CD quality, and then the full like whatever wave.
Yes.
So you'll get delivery. You get multiple files delivered. And so when I, do a self-release on a song, I have to upload multiple different versions, because like my digital delivery system goes to like 300 digital outlets. So my music is on Tidal, Qobuz, Spotify, and they're taking from that one file, but whatever is going to Beatport is the WAV file or the AIFF file, because they want the high quality. So different digital outlets have different file requirements from whatever artist or whatever. But another thing that to kind of go to your question, Joe, I got this dude who's, kind of helping me, tighten up my production to make it sound more professional. And he's just like, okay, your bass sounds great. We need to split it up. We need to split it up. We need to make a sub bass, same exact layer, octave lower, same exact layer, octave higher. We want a mid bass. We want a high bass, a mid bass, and a sub bass. And then we're going to, process them separately. And then we're going to process them together, because it's like dance music, right? So that we want a wall of sound. We want every frequency range covered, and each melody line. If you have two melody lines, we have to, you know, EQ so they're not sitting right on top of each other, but more kind of like, you know, kind of next to each other, you know, kind of thing. So it takes up all the frequency range. So they're not concerned about what you're listening to the speakers, to the music on, what speakers you're listening on. They're trying to make it sound as full as possible.
And it's funny because we say they, I mean, that's you sometimes, right? You're the one who's making the music. So when you're creating music, you're just trying to make it sound good for you, and you're not taking the
I want to make the you know, whatever the melodic lyric content, I want to make that true to me. But then there's the whole production side of like, it's got to sound good. Like, just like, not like you like the music, but it just has to sound pleasing, right? You can't, and balanced. Pleasing, balanced, sounding full, so that whatever the situation is, if you're listening on Spotify, it's going to sound good. If you're listening on your home system, it's going to sound good. And you're listening in, you know, $50 earbuds, you know. I do know this one guy who's like this Grammy nominated mixing engineer, and he does a lot of K-pop. And you should see, he's like, dude, they don't want any bass at all, because everybody's just listening on their cell phones.
Yeah.
So like, his like line, you know, like if we were to draw like a frequency response, Joe, you know, it's kind of like this is kind of what you want, right? Your house curve. There's this kind of like, like there's just no bass, and he's like it's the weirdest thing, but this is how they want their music mixed. So it's always just always depends.
You know, I think I'm gonna have to not go back on what I said, but kind of add to it, right? So I think what I was saying is, if you wanted to get the most accurate reproduction of what the mixing and mastering engineer intended, of course you'd have the same speakers as them. Your room would be
in the same room and have the same treatments,
the same distance from them. You'd had all the same equipment. That's going to give you the most accurate response, right? But I think about it though, right? Chana, you're a video guy, right? What do they make movies on? Like, what kind of screen do they master on?
Sometimes it's an OLED. Like,
but what is that Sony one that you're talking? That super expensive.
Oh, the Sony BVM 3000 or something like that.
Okay,
BVM 1000.
What size is that thing?
It is like I think it's like a 24-inch, 27-inch.
27, right?
Yeah.
So I think maybe that's the same situation where they optimized for this small screen. They didn't mix and master at a theater, right?
Yeah. They're not mastering on a 83-inch OLED. It's this tiny little thing, right? That they're doing all their, like, they're doing the Dolby Vision, they're doing the HDR, they're doing the color grading, all on this 27-inch screen. Yeah.
So maybe that's just kind of the same thing with audio, though, right? They mix near field, but if you put it in a big room, you may like. I mean, for me, would I rather watch a movie on that same BVM Sony monitor or in a movie theater that is maybe less accurate for whatever reason, but huge? I think I'd rather watch it in a movie theater. So maybe that's the same thing that's happening with us when we listen to whatever mix. We want it in a bigger space, right?
Yeah.
Jenna, you got this record.
I don't know. Hold on. There's so many.
There's
so much stuff here.
Ow.
And you got it twice, and I think you got it twice. One you can send one unit to Joe, because these are also sound mixers, and they put a lot of sounds in it on the disc, and with a lot of bass.
Oh, okay. I'm always okay with bass. I try not to get anything from Oro, from the Oro guys, because then I can always say they never gave me anything. Because I like it. And they've never given me anything.
You have some stuff.
Which one is it? Is it this symbol polarity?
Oh man,
I don't know.
You know how I was just saying.
I can't wait to see Passengers on.
Yes.
Chana.
Oh, symbol. Here it is. His symbol. You want this one? Yeah. This one? I need to send this one to Joe. Okay.
Send it to Paul.
Send it to Paul. Okay.
Yeah. So that? you know how I was saying, they usually mix, on these small, and then I just remembered Wilfried in the Oratorium, right? with a mixing board in this big old theater. Remember that,
yeah.
Shauna?
Yeah.
He's in the middle of a
Yeah.
theater and the mixing board's right there. So forget it. Anything I just said.
Oh, right. Well, you know, I mean, that's just one studio, you know, so like you
Yes.
look at it, you know, who's doing a lot of the Hollywood stuff. There, a lot of them are you know, private contractors. You know, they're not necessarily in a studio. They're probably in a home studio, doing a 7.1.4 Atmos mix. You know, so yeah, I guess it just all depends.
And it's the next guy. We if you talk to it's they make their music at home. He the guy he's called Max Cooper. Maybe you know some or read something about him. He's also a DJ. Yes, Max Cooper.
Hold on a second. I think I might have some of his stuff on my playlist.
And he make a one or the second record came in the next time. He make a great pure audio disc also with ambience, it's called, I think, and is one of the best Dolby Atmos mix on there. It's the same level like Dear Future Self, and these guys takes this time to mix or to find or to take the mix for a great Atmos mix. So it's
I do have
I
some
think
stuff. Max Cooper, and the album is called 3D Reworks, something like that.
Yes, it's
it
maybe
has like
the
a
new
triangle
one.
on the.
Yes,
that's a I have like 4 test tracks that I use from that album. Sound really awesome.
And that's the next reason, because the music industry should take or give the engineers a little bit more time to create a good mix, because Shanna said it. So they have the same track, and they have to make 4 or 5 versions for each platform, or you can say, or streaming platform, you can say. And it's the same on the 3D sound, because on Dolby Atmos you can create a sound object and you can decide what the sound objects are doing. It's running from front to left or above you or something like this. Yeah. So, and you can put, I think, 100 sound objects in one track. So it's a lot of work there to put them in the right direction.
Right.
And it's one reason to, if you take the chance to get a Trinnov, you can see the sound object as a ball. So and there you can see what the sound mixer is making with this sound object and how many sound balls are there.
Right.
So
yeah.
In this combination, the engineers, maybe it's one lesson from the show, should take their time to maybe to create under different parameters to take a good or to create a good mix for 2-channel or 3D channel music or sound or anything else. Right. It's the same. It's the same with the rights, because I sent Channel Passengers on the Blu-ray. There is it's only on the European or some European countries gets the film without 3D only on Blu-ray.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same issue with Blade Runner 24/9. Only one country gets the Arrow mix. This movie has an Arrow 3D mix, and Sony can make a lot of more money if they if they create a special edition for the European or American market with 4K, one side Arrow 3D and one side Atmos.
Yeah, I mean,
always is there.
I bought a ton of discs, and like the last one, like it had 2 Blu-ray discs in it and the 4K disc. Like, do we really need all of this? I paid $30. Do I need all this? I'm only gonna rip my 4K movie. But it doesn't make it does. You're right. It doesn't make any sense. If they're putting all those discs in there, why can't they just put like one of them's the Blu-ray movie, one of them's the Blu-ray special features, and then it's the 4K UHD disc? I'm like, why are there 3 discs in here? Surely they can easily just make one of them.
And that's the reason these guys from Germany and from Norwegian, you can say. This guy is it's already it's Christmas music on Norwegian
Is
style.
that the Steel Grender dit
Yes.
Norske Gent? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, see, this
If-
one is also Dolby Atmos, Oro 3D, TSX51, and then 2.0 LPCM.
On one disc, it's possible.
On
So
one
the
CD.
creators-
Oh no, it's
And-
on one Blu-ray. One Blu-ray. My bad, Blu-ray.
one Blu-ray and one SRCD.
Oh,
You have two discs inside.
oh, it's 2 discs inside here. Oh, okay, cool.
So
Yeah, we're gonna have to start wrapping up soon. But Stefan, is there anything else that you want to mention before we go? I appreciate you being on, by the way.
no, I hope that at first, thank you to be part of the show just today. Maybe we can turn it on in future in some times.
Yeah, well, hang around because I'm gonna give you a link to the after show. So if you it's late over there, I know, but if you want to hang out for a little.
Yes, and I wait for the at my opinion that if the creators and the record and movie companies work a little bit together and create a little bit more stuff with good sounds in 2D or in 3D, and all customers will be fine. And that's my sentence or final sentence.
I agree with that. And until then, you still have Oromatic. So
yeah. Well, there's still the Oro 3D
Yes.
upmixer.
yeah,
Yes.
worst case scenario, you have that. There you go.
Yep.
Want to wrap
All
it up?
right. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Now, if you guys want to continue the fun, you have to become a patron. That's patreon.com/daily HiFi. Sign up over there, and you'll get access to the video chat that the four of us are going to jump into right now. For everybody else that isn't a patron, we will see you guys here next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. Can't even do it. Couldn't do it without laughing. Mondays, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time here on the Daily HiFi YouTube channel. If you're watching on the replay, make sure you subscribe up and join the fun in the live show. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
See you.
Bye.
Stay tuned.